Davis speaks softly. He welcomes the listeners back. He asks two gentle questions. Where are you listening from tonight? And did your day end in peace? He invites a quiet comment. Just a simple note to share the moment. The room feels calm, still, warm, but he hints at a shift coming soon. A small turn in the quiet. A soft doorway into the unknown, and the evening begins quietly. For now. Morning came quietly. Light. Soft. Street Mary Mead eased into its routine. Shops opened slowly. Doors clicked. Steps shuffled along the lane. Nothing rushed. Nothing loud. Mrs. Barton arranged spools of thread in her window. She liked them in neat rows. Blue, cream, red. She hummed while she worked. Short, steady notes. Mr. Pritchard carried newspapers under his arm. He moved with purpose. He always did. Cold morning. He muttered to no one in particular. He didn't wait for a reply. He rarely did. Mrs. Dodds stood by the bakery steps, hands folded, head tilted. I heard the vicar wants new hymn boards, she whispered. No one had asked her, but she shared the news anyway. She liked to be first. Lily Veen brushed crumbs from her apron. She had been up since 5. Bread, tea, a dozen customers by now. She sighed softly, then smiled at the next person she saw. She always smiled, even when tired. Clive Perkins swept the pavement in front of the post office. Short, brisk strokes. He liked things tidy. Snow later, he said. No one was sure if he meant it or hoped it. Clive loved predicting the weather, even when he was wrong. 3 conversations overlapped on the lane. Soft, ordinary, cozy in their own way. Small gossip traveled from ear to ear. Nothing sharp, nothing cruel. Just enough to keep the village warm. Miss Marple stood near the haberdashery shelf. She held a small packet of buttons. Her eyes drifted past the window. Watching, noticing, measuring the morning. She saw Mrs. Barton drop a spool, a simple slip, but the woman's hands trembled a little. Only a little. Just enough to be odd. She noticed Mr. Pritchard check over his shoulder twice. He never checked. He only walked. Today he looked uneasy, like he expected someone to follow him. No one did. Lily laughed when a customer joked, but the laugh was thin, not warm, not real. A smile that didn't match her eyes. Small things, tiny things, easy to miss. But Miss Marple noticed patterns the way others noticed weather. Little shifts, little cracks. Near the bus stop, 2 village boys whispered, heads together. Quick glances, short words. One boy pulled something from his pocket, closed his hand fast. Too fast. They both walked away when Miss Marple looked over. Nothing large, nothing bold, just one more small piece that didn't fit the morning mood. Miss Marple stepped out of the shop, her gloves neat, her gait slow. She didn't speak. She didn't interrupt. She simply took in the street. One face at a time, one action at a time. A look, a pause, a whisper that didn't belong. Not yet enough for a conclusion, but enough to mark a shift in the village air. A quiet imbalance beneath the calm. Miss Marple felt it. A tiny pull in the pattern. A soft signal that something, somewhere, was about to turn. She closed her handbag gently, stood still for a moment, then continued her walk down the lane. Miss Marple noticed the shift and waited. The village moved in its usual rhythm. Soft steps, warm chatter, nothing out of place. Nothing sharp, just an ordinary morning settling across the lane. Miss Marple walked past the post office. Slow steps, hands folded neatly. Her eyes noted everything. A shutter half open. A boot print turned the wrong way. A shop sign hanging slightly crooked. Small things, always small things. Mrs. Dodds carried a tray of pastries toward the tea stall. She balanced it carefully. Short steps, short breaths. Fresh batch, she whispered, her voice light, her smile steady. Lily Veen wiped her counter again, the same spot twice, then a third time. No reason, just habit. She hummed quietly. The hum wavered once, then steadied. Across the street, Mr. Pritchard shook out the morning paper, crisp folds, quick glance. A sigh that seemed too heavy for such a light morning. But he said nothing. He just kept reading. Clive Perkins arranged the chalkboard outside the bakery. "Today's special," he wrote. Short strokes. Precise letters. He stepped back. Looked pleased for a moment. Then frowned. "Not straight," he murmured. He fixed it again. Everything looked normal. Sounded normal. Felt normal. But the pattern underneath had already shifted. Miss Marple sensed it. A soft warning. Nothing loud. Nothing clear. Just a small weight in the air. Then it happened. A scream. Sharp. Short. Cut straight across the street. Everything froze. A cup rattled on a bayless table. A cat darted under a bench. Two children clutched each other. Mrs. Barton dropped a spool of thread. It bounced once. Rolled under the counter. She didn't go after it. She just stared ahead. Eyes wide. Face pale. Another gasp followed. Then a shout. Someone called a name. The name stumbled in the air. Unsteady. Uneasy. Miss Marple turned at once. Calm. Still. Her footsteps soft as she made her way toward the sound. The villagers moved aside without thinking. They always did. Her presence steadied the space around her. Near the tea stall, a man had collapsed onto the cobblestones. Flat. Still. One arm bent under him. One glove missing. His hat rested a few inches away. Upside down. Wrong side showing. People circled him. Voices tangled. Questions jumped. But no one touched him. No one dared. Lily covered her mouth. Did he faint? Her voice trembled. Clive shook his head. I didn't see anything. He took a step back. Then to another. Mrs. Dodds dropped her tray. Pastries scattered. She didn't notice. Her eyes stayed fixed on the fallen man. Miss Marple knelt carefully. Her gloves brushed the cobblestones. She did not check for drama. Only facts. Her gaze stayed steady, breathing calm, mind clear. She noted the missing glove. Not near him, not in his hand, not anywhere close. Odd. Very odd. She noted his hat. The angle, the distance, the way it lay. Things fall naturally. This one hadn't. Then she saw something else. Small, half hidden, right beside the stone planter. A tiny piece. A detail others missed. A thread. Loose. Caught on a rough edge. One small clue. Miss Marple reached for it slowly. Pinched it gently between two fingers. A single red thread. Fine, clean, fresh. Not from the man's coat. Not from anything near him. She held it up to the light. No one else noticed. Everyone stared at the body. But Miss Marple looked at the thread instead. Her eyes narrowed. Just slightly. A soft shift in her breath. A quiet weight settling into place. This was the start. The first true mark. The first move in a pattern no one else could see yet. And the first piece sat right there. Constable Price arrived quickly. Short strides. Steady breath. He took one look at the fallen man. Then he lifted his hand. "One moment, please," he said. Quiet. Controlled. Firm. The crowd shifted. People stepped back. A soft ring formed around the scene. No one touched the man. No one spoke his name again. Constable Price cleared his throat. "I need everyone to stay right here." His voice stayed calm, but the shape of the order was sharp. "No one leaves." The words settled over the lane. Heavy. Instant. Solid. Faces tightened. Mrs. Barton gripped her handbag, knuckles white. Her smile tried to form, but it didn't. Not fully. Lily Veen wiped her hands again. Once, twice, 3 times. No crumbs this time. Just nerves. Her gaze kept drifting to the fallen man. Then away. Then back again. Mr. Pritchard folded his paper. Slow. Too slow. As if the pages mattered now. They didn't. But his hands needed something to do. Something normal. Something steady. Clive Perkins set his broom down. Gently. Too gently. It didn't need that kind of care. but he still leaned it against the bakery wall, then glanced at it again, like he wasn't sure he'd placed it right. Mrs. Dodds backed up one step, then froze, as if moving again would draw attention. Her eyes darted. Left, right, back to the constable, then to Miss Marple. She looked unsure which one frightened her more. A few villagers whispered, short phrases, half-formed thoughts. "Did you see?" "No, I didn't." "Was he?" Someone said. Constable Price lifted his hand again. "No chatter, please. We need calm." The whispers died immediately, but the tension didn't. It simply changed. Shape. Tightened. Drew inward. Held itself behind people's faces. Miss Marple stood just behind the constable, hands folded, expression mild, eyes alert. She watched every small movement, every twitch, every glance. Reactions told their own stories, and she collected stories the way others collected mail. Quietly, politely, one at a time. She noted Lily's trembling hands. Fear, possibly guilt, or shock. Hard to tell yet. She noted Mr. Pritchard avoiding the body entirely. His eyes never touched the man. Not once. Avoidance. That could mean something, or nothing. But she stored it anyway. She noted Mrs. Barton stepping back half a step, a very small step, very quiet, but enough to show discomfort, or unease, or worry about something else entirely. Clive Perkins looked at the hat on the ground, then away, then back at it again, twice. Interest, recognition, or simple curiosity? Hard to know. Miss Marple watched him longer. 3 boys stood near. The post box. Shoulders pressed together, eyes shifting. Too curious, too excited, not frightened enough. Children notice things, but they also hide things, especially when they shouldn't. Miss Marple kept her breathing slow, steady. Her mind walked through each face, each reaction, each tiny shift. Patterns settling, not complete yet, but forming. Constable Price walked the circle once more. "Stay calm," he said. "We will sort this out." He meant it, but calm never comes from words. It comes from truth, and truth wasn't here yet. Miss Marple's eyes returned to the missing glove, then to the fallen man's coat, then to the red thread still in her handbag. Small things, always small things. People began murmuring again. Softer this time, lower, more controlled, but sharper round the edges. Miss Marple didn't look at the fallen man again. She had seen what she needed. Now she watched the crowd. Because answers live in reactions, not in bodies. Then it happened. A single villager moved just a little too quickly. Not enough to draw attention, but enough to signal something hidden, something uneasy, something off. Miss Marple saw it instantly. A shift in weight, a flick of the eyes, a step that wasn't natural. She focused on that one person. And someone reacted, just a bit too fast. The crowd settled into uneasy clusters, soft murmurs, short breaths. Everyone waited for Constable Price to speak again. But Miss Marple didn't wait. She began her quiet work. She stepped back from the fallen man. Slow, measured, calm. Her eyes followed the edges of the scene first, not the center. Truth often lived at the border. She noticed the chalkboard near the bakery. Clive had straightened it earlier. Perfect lines, neat writing. But now it leaned again, slightly, too slightly. Someone had brushed it, or bumped it, or touched it when no one else looked. One item out of place, a tiny shift. But nothing in this village shifted without reason. Lily Veen wiped her counter once more. Her cloth moved fast, too fast. The rhythm didn't match her usual calm. She glanced at Miss Marple, then away, then back again, a nervous pattern. Miss Marple made no comment, just watched. Mrs. Barton stepped closer to the constable. She raised her hand halfway, as if she wanted to say something. Then she lowered it again. Her face tightened. Her eyes slipped to the fallen man's hat, then to the missing glove. Then she looked down at her own shoes. A sequence. Not random. but controlled. Miss Marple stored it. Another detail. Another thread. Mr. Pritchard still held his newspaper, folded, closed, but he hadn't put it away. He just clutched it. Firm grip. White knuckles. His gaze stayed on the bakery window. Not on the body. Not on the constable. Not on Miss Marple. Avoidance again. She watched longer. He shifted his feet. Left to right. Right to left. Restless. Not natural for him. Another thread. Then Miss Marple realized something else. Someone wasn't here. Someone who normally appeared before everyone else. Mr. Cobb, the milkman. He passed the lane twice every morning. Once early. Once again around this time. He greeted everyone. He joked. He always paused at the bakery door. But he hadn't come today. Not once. Not even a glimpse of his cart. One person missing. Miss Marple did not speak his name out loud. She simply added it to the inner list. A quiet note. A soft marker. A missing presence was as loud as a scream in a village this small. Constable Price questioned a few villagers. Short questions, short answers. Nothing clean, nothing neat. Everyone had a version. But the versions didn't match. Mrs. Dodd said she heard the man fall, but she was facing the other way. Hard to hear a fall that soft. Suspicious. Clive claimed he saw the man stumble, but he had been sweeping near the far wall. The angle didn't allow it. Contradiction. Lily swore the man looked dizzy earlier. But she was in the bakery then, far inside. No view of the lane. Another mismatch. One story didn't match. Then another. Then another. Miss Marple stayed quiet. She never corrected anyone. Not yet. She simply listened. Every voice carried both truth and fear. Both mattered. She stepped near the planter again, where the red thread had been. A few villagers glanced her way. Their eyes followed her movements, some curious, some worried. Her gaze drifted across the cobblestones. One spot looked scraped, just a little, a small mark, barely visible, like something had been dragged an inch, or pulled, or snatched. One behavior too sharp, too sudden, too deliberate. 3 early threads now. The leaning chalkboard, the missing milkman, the mismatched stories. None solved, all linked. She felt the pattern tightening, not complete, but forming quietly beneath the chatter. She did not move quickly. She only breathed slowly, watched carefully, listened fully. Then her eyes landed on one person again, the same person who had reacted too fast earlier. They shifted away from her gaze. Too quickly, too forced. Miss Marple's attention narrowed, softly, silently. Her mind tugged on that one thread, and one thread tugged harder than the rest. Miss Marple stepped a little closer to the edge of the gathered crowd. Not too close, not too far, just enough to watch faces clearly, just enough to be heard without raising her voice. She spoke gently, always gently. Soft questions, nothing sharp, nothing accusing. Her manner disarmed people. It always did. "Mrs. Dodds, did you see him fall?" Miss Marple asked quietly. Mrs. Dodds pressed a hand to her chest. I heard something," she said. Short answer. Nervous eyes. She looked away too quickly. Her voice trembled. Not unusual for her. But the timing mattered. Miss Marple nodded. Once. No judgment. Just a soft acknowledgement. She turned slightly. "Mr. Pritchard, you were reading the newspaper. Did you notice anything unusual?" Mr. Pritchard cleared his throat. "No, nothing at all." His answer came too fast, too polished. He didn't usually speak so directly. He preferred mutters and sideways remarks. This confidence felt performed. Miss Marple watched the corner of his mouth. It tightened. A small sign, something held back. Lily Veen stepped forward a little, hands clasped. "I think he looked unsteady earlier," she whispered, her voice soft, her gaze unsure. Maybe he was ill. Miss Marple tilted her head. "Did you see him before he collapsed?" Lily paused. A long pause. Too long. Then shook her head. No, I didn't." Contradiction. Her earlier claim said otherwise. Miss Marple stored it, Clive Perkins held his broom again, both hands, too tight. Maybe he slipped, Clive said. Short. Simple. But his eyes flicked to the chalkboard again, then to the fallen man, then back to his broom. His pattern wavered. He wasn't calm. Clive was always calm, but not today. Not now. Mrs. Barton stood very still near the tea stall, her bag pressed close to her side. She kept glancing at the missing glove, then at the fallen man's hand, then at the ground. Her lips moved as if counting something, or recalling something. She had not said a single word yet. Miss Marple stepped a bit closer. "Mrs. Barton, you seem troubled," she said softly. "Mrs." Barton jumped slightly, then forced a smile. "Oh, I'm fine, dear. Just shocked, you know." Her tone light. Too light. She looked away again. Her eyes stayed low. Another thread. Constable Price made notes slowly. People circled tighter around him. 6 villagers stood nearest the scene now. 6 possible suspects. Each with a different expression. Each with a small secret. None bold, none loud. All soft. All subtle. Miss Marple let the silence sit. Silence revealed more than questions. Then she asked one more. Just one. A small one. The kind that exposes edges. "Did anyone speak to him this morning?" Her voice steady, calm, neutral. 4 people answered at once. All different stories. All quick. All overlapping. "Mrs." Dodds said she saw him walking alone. Clive said he greeted him near the bakery. Lily said she thought he asked for tea. Mr. Pritchard said he never saw him at all. All 4 contradicted one another. All 4 offered something that didn't align. Miss Marple watched the timing of each reply. The speed, the breath, the tone. Patterns formed. Small ones. Not clear yet, but visible enough. Then Clive added. He looked. Frightened. His voice dropped. Barely a whisper. Miss Marple turned to him slowly. "Frightened or hurried?" she asked. Clive hesitated. Too long. Then nodded. I don't know." But Miss Marple knew. Something was wrong. Not with his answer, but with the way he said it. The pace, the breath, the shift in his eyes. One answer did not fit the morning's pattern, not at all. And one answer felt wrong. The lane grew quieter. People pressed in closer. The cold morning held stillness now. A waiting stillness. A nervous stillness. Constable Price stood near the fallen man, making slow notes. But Miss Marple watched the crowd instead. Always the crowd. Then something new appeared. Small. Convenient. Almost too convenient. Clive Perkins bent down. He picked something from the cobblestones. A small object. A folded paper. Edges crisp. Ink fresh. It was under his coat, Clive said, his voice a little too bright. A little too ready. He handed it to the constable. Constable Price unfolded it carefully. Inside, a short message stared up at them. 4 words. Sharp. Clean. Perfect. "I know your secret." Gasps moved through the circle. Soft. Tight. Predictable. Mrs. Dodds clutched her scarf. Lily covered her mouth again. Mr. Pritchard stepped back. Mrs. Barton whispered something no one heard. Constable Price looked at Miss Marple. He nodded slowly. "This could point to someone," he said. Yes, it could. And that was the problem. Miss Marple did not speak. She did not step closer. She did not reach for the note. She only watched Clive's hands, the way they trembled. Just a little. Not fear, not grief. Something else. The note looked perfect. Too perfect. Placed, not dropped. Folded, not crushed. Positioned exactly where someone wanted it found. A planted clue. The kind that arrives at the perfect moment. At the exact time when panic is highest. When people are most ready to believe anything. The villagers leaned in. They exchanged guesses. They whispered names. A soft hum of accusation ran through them. "It must be blackmail," someone whispered. Yes, he was threatened. Another replied. "That explains it," someone added. Audience solved it in their own minds. So did the villagers. A fast answer. A neat answer. Too neat. Miss Marple remained silent, her face calm, her eyes steady. She let the false direction form. False paths reveal true ones. But then something deeper shifted. Constable Price looked around. "Where is Mr. Cobb?" he asked. Silence followed. A still silence. The same silence Miss Marple had noted earlier. Mr. Cobb, the milkman, the one missing since morning, always on time, always cheerful, always present on the lane. Yet today, no sign, no cart, no voice, no clatter of bottles. His absence grew louder now. Not a detail, not a small thing. A missing person becomes a weight in a village. Lily spoke first. "I haven't seen him at all." Her voice thin. Mrs. Dodds shook her head. "He always comes by. Always." Her certainty cracked at the edges. Mr. Pritchard looked toward the main road. "He passed me yesterday, but not today." He swallowed hard. Clive stepped back again. His foot scraped the cobblestones. A small sound. Too sharp. Too sudden. Miss Marple looked at him. He looked away quickly. Too quickly. Constable Price folded the note again. "This might be connected," he said. But Miss Marple already knew something else. Something the constable hadn't seen. Something no one else had noticed. The handwriting, the spacing, the ink, the way the fold creased. This note was not written in haste. It was prepared. The perfect clue, at the perfect moment, pointing perfectly in the wrong direction. Miss Marple breathed in once. Quiet, controlled. Her eyes moved from the note to the missing milkman, to the crowd reacting just as someone wanted. The false solution formed itself neatly, wrapped in panic, wrapped in certainty, wrapped in convenience, but not in truth. She held her silence, because the pattern wasn't complete. Not yet. Yet the truth was not there. The lane held its breath, not a full silence, just a tight one, a waiting one. Villagers shifted in small circles, short murmurs, short steps, short nerves. Constable Price tried to steady the group, but steadiness was slipping. Everything was slipping. Miss Marple watched the edges, always the edges. The center told the story people wanted. The edges told the story people hid. She counted faces again, one by one, slow, careful, precise. Mrs. Dodds, Lily, Clive, Mr. Pritchard, Mrs. Barton, 2 boys, 3 older men near the gate, a young woman near the post box. Then she stopped. Something was wrong. One face was gone. A suspect had vanished. Quietly, silently. No one saw them leave. No one noticed them step away. Miss Marple scanned the lane again. Not frantic, just exact. The missing person was the one who reacted too fast earlier, the one who kept shifting, the one whose answers never fully lined up. Gone now. Constable. Price noticed her gaze. "What is it?" he whispered. She nodded toward the space near the bench. "Someone is missing," she said softly. He looked. His jaw tightened. He didn't announce it. Announcing it would spark panic. He simply moved through the crowd, trying to find the gap, trying to confirm it. But Miss Marple already knew. Patterns reveal themselves through absences. Then something else surfaced. A hidden area. Barely a space. Barely a corner. Behind the tea stall. A storage alcove. Shadows. Crates. A narrow path into the back garden. Miss Marple walked toward it calmly. No rush. No alarm. Her steps soft. Measured. A villager tried to follow her. Constable Price stopped them. "Give her room," he said. Miss Marple stepped into the alcove. She didn't need light. Her fingers moved along the crate edge. Slow. Gentle. She felt something taped underneath. She pulled it free. A folded note. Smaller than the first one. Less neat. More. Rushed. Ink smudged at the corner. She unfolded it. Not safe. Had to move. Look behind the board. Simple. Short. Practical. No drama. Just warning. She didn't react outwardly. Not her way. She tucked the note into her sleeve, then stepped back into the lane. Clive saw her return. His shoulders stiffened. His eyes followed her hand. He knew she found something. It showed. Mr. Pritchard swallowed hard, sweat on his brow. A small drop. Unusual for him. The temperature wasn't warm, but tension was. Lily gripped the edge of her apron, too tight, her knuckles white. Mrs. Barton shook her head slowly. A whisper left her lips. Something like, "Not again," or "Not now." Hard to catch. Miss Marple turned toward the bakery chalkboard. She had checked it earlier. Now she checked behind it. Her fingers moved the frame gently. Something scraped. A small object fell to the ground. A button, dark blue, smooth. Not from the fallen man. Wrong size. Wrong style. Wrong color. But she had seen that color earlier. On someone's coat. A specific someone. A someone now missing. Her eyes lifted. She saw the shape forming. Not the whole picture yet, but the outline, the structure, the reason someone planted a false clue, the reason someone vanished, the reason two notes existed, the reason one thread mattered more than the others. The villagers felt the shift too. They didn't know why, but they sensed something tightening. The air grew dense. The circle grew smaller. Fear, guilt, confusion, all folding together now. Constable Price approached her quietly. "Did you find something?" he asked. Miss Marple looked at him, calm, clear, her voice barely above a whisper. "Yes," she said, "and someone, is trying very hard to hide." He nodded, ready for her next words, but she didn't give them yet. Not yet. The pattern needed one more turn, one more shift, one more fall of the dominoes. She stepped back, looked at the scene once more. The body, the glove, the planted note, the missing milkman, the vanished suspect, the second note, the button, the leaning board, the trembling hands, everything bent, everything curved, everything pointed in a new direction. And now, the story bent, sharply. Miss Marple stepped away from the center of the lane. Not far, just a few quiet steps. Enough to think, enough to see the whole picture without interruption. Villagers continued whispering, short lines, short breaths, confusion mixed with fear. Constable Price tried to calm them, but calm wouldn't return yet, not until truth settled. Miss Marple folded her hands. Her eyes drifted from face to face. One clue at a time, one action at a time. Everything she had gathered began arranging itself. The planted note. Neat. Convenient. Too perfect. The hidden note. Rushed. Warned. Real. The missing glove. Not dropped by accident. Placed. Deliberately. Wrong angle. The missing milkman. An absence louder than a shout. A hole in the morning's pattern. The vanished suspect. Quiet exit. No footsteps. No excuse. Just gone. The blue button behind the board. Not from the victim, not from any villager nearby, but from one coat. One very specific coat. The chalkboard shifting twice. Once by Clive, once by someone else. A small movement hiding a small truth. The scraped stone near the planter, an inch dragged. Nothing heavy, just a hand, or a foot, or a hidden object. The trembling hands. The two fast answers, the mismatched stories, every lie different, every lie pushing in a different direction, but every lie connected. She thought quietly, her breath slow, her mind methodical. The scene played again behind her eyes. Step by step, person by person, reaction by reaction. Mrs. Dodds claimed she heard the fall, but her position made that unlikely. Her story hid something. Not guilt, just fear. A separate secret. A small one. Lily said she saw the victim, looking unsteady. But she admitted moments later she hadn't seen him at all. A contradiction. But not dangerous. Just nerves. Typical for her. Mr. Pritchard avoided the body entirely. Eyes fixed on anything else. He hid discomfort. Maybe shame. Maybe knowledge. But not direct involvement. Mrs. Barton stared at the missing glove far too often, her mind on something else, something she recognized, something familiar, not guilt, just memory. Clive, always Clive, too helpful, too quick, too neat. He found the first note. He commented on the fall. He touched the chalkboard twice. He moved near the planter before anyone else. His coat had the right buttons. His steps never matched his words. But Miss Marple never accused. Not yet. Accusation without full pattern was guesswork, and guesswork had no place here. She closed her eyes for a moment. Not long, just enough to let the pieces settle. The chaos arranged itself, the movements mapped themselves. Who walked where, who spoke when, who avoided what, who left too quickly. She traced the timeline softly in her thoughts. The victim's arrival, the brief conversation with someone unseen, the missing glove, the sudden collapse, the planted note, the hidden space, the blue button, the vanished suspect. Step by step, the shape formed, a clear outline, a logical chain, no drama, no conjecture, just fact. She opened her eyes, clear now, focused, still, calm deduction forming like threads drawn together. Yet she did not move. Not yet. She waited for one more detail, the last piece, the one that would seal the pattern fully. Villagers whispered louder now. Constable Price watched her, waiting, trusting her silence, trusting her process. Miss Marple looked back at the scene, one more time. Slowly, thoughtfully. Her eyes moved from the body, to the glove, to the planter, chalkboard, to the empty space where the missing suspect once stood. Then she saw it, a small detail, simple, clear, exactly what she needed. And then, one last detail clicked. Constable Price called for quiet. The lane settled, murmurs faded, eyes turned toward Miss Marple. She stepped forward slowly, hands folded, expression mild, voice calm. "I think," she said softly, "we understand enough now." She did not point. She did not shout. She only explained. Step by step. Plain. Simple. It began before this morning. Her gaze moved gently across the faces. Someone feared something would be discovered. She looked at the fallen man. He knew a secret, she said. A private matter. Money. Or conduct. Or some small, dangerous truth. Eyes shifted. No one spoke. First, she continued, a note was prepared. The neat one. The one that said, "I know your secret." She glanced at Clive's hands. He swallowed. That note, she said, was written in advance, folded neatly, placed where it would be found, at the right moment, at the right time, a planted clue. She turned slightly. The second note was different. Hidden behind the crates, rushed, uneven, it warned someone. It mentioned the board. She looked toward the chalkboard. The chalkboard was moved twice, she said. Once when Clive straightened it, once when someone else reached behind it. She held up the blue button. This fell from a coat, she said. Not the victim's coat. Another coat. Her eyes moved across the small crowd. There are not many blue coats in this village. A few heads turned. One person stiffened. The missing glove, she went on, was not dropped in a fall. It lay too neatly, at the wrong angle, in the wrong place. It was placed after the man fell, to suggest a struggle, to suggest someone else had been here. Someone like Mr. Cobb. A small stir at the mention of the milkman. Mr. Cobb is missing, she said, but his absence began before this morning. He did not vanish here. He was kept away, so his name could be used. She let that settle. The false trail, she said, was simple. Plant a note on the body. Plant a clue near the scene. Let a missing man carry the blame. She turned back to Clive. No anger in her eyes, no drama, only clear observation. You were near the board, she said. You touched it twice. You found the first note. You commented on the fall. You moved before anyone else had time. Her words stayed soft, but they left no space. You also wore a blue coat earlier, she added. With buttons like this one, she opened her hand. The button lay in her palm. The man fell here, she said. Not by chance. Someone nudged him. Someone guided him to the one spot where the planted note would be found. She looked at the scraped stone. The mark on the ground shows a foot pulled suddenly, not a natural slip, a forced one. Her gaze came back to the villagers as a whole. The lies did not match, she said, but the movements did. One person moved too fast, spoke too neatly, stood in too many wrong places. She took a gentle breath. And so the pattern is clear, she finished. The false trail was built here, by one of us, for one reason, to hide a private wrongdoing behind a sudden accident. Her eyes, calm and kind, rested where they needed to rest. And the culprit stood in that room. Miss Marple stood very still, hands folded, voice steady, no rush, no force, just truth. It was you, she said softly, clear, direct. Her eyes rested on the one who had moved too quickly all morning, the one whose coat had lost a blue button, the one who found the perfect note. Clive Perkins. Clive froze. Not a full freeze. Just a stiffening, a tightening of shoulders. A breath held too long. Constable Price stepped forward. Slow, firm, prepared. He did not raise his voice. He only said, "Clive, stay where you are." Faces shifted across the lane. A ripple. Soft shock. Eyes widened. Hands covered mouths. Mrs. Dodds whispered a small prayer. Mr. Pritchard blinked hard, as if adjusting to the new shape of the morning. Lily held her apron tighter. Silence followed. A full silence this time. Heavy. Dense. Expected. Clive tried to smile. The smile failed. Now, Miss Marple, you misunderstood, he stammered. His voice wavered. Miss Marple shook her head once. A small, gentle movement. No, she said. I have not. Clive swallowed. His eyes darted from the constable to the chalkboard, to the hidden corner where the real note was found. Too many glances. Too fast. Too exposed. You touched the board twice, Miss Marple continued. Once to straighten it, once to hide the button. You placed the neat note near the body, and you guided him to the one place where it would be found. Clive shook his head again. Coincidence, he whispered. Too soft, too late. The false trail used Mr. Cobb, she went on, because he was missing this morning, but he was missing long before the body fell. You knew that. You counted on it. Constable Price took another step. Close now, very close. Clive's breath shortened. Miss Marple's voice stayed calm, almost kind. You feared discovery, a debt, a mistake, a wrong you hoped to hide in the panic of a sudden fall. Clive tried again, a last attempt, a weak one. I didn't mean. But his words broke. Constable Price spoke quietly. Clive, it's time. Clive's face twisted. Not anger, not shock, just resignation. A man whose plan had cracked at the smallest seam, a thread pulled loose, a detail missed, a simple morning undone by quiet observation. No escape, Miss Marple said gently. Not now. Clive opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. A brief struggle of words, half-formed excuses, half-truths, but nothing complete. Nothing that could hold. Constable Price placed a hand on his arm. Firm, measured. Clive did not resist. He simply lowered his head. His shoulders sank. His breath shuddered. The villagers watched. Still, silent. A weight lifting, a truth settling. A morning finding its shape again. No shouting, no chaos. Just a quiet end to a quiet crime. Constable Price led Clive away. Slow steps. Even steps. Miss Marple watched the movement, then looked back at the villagers. Faces softened, spines straightened, air loosened, a long-held breath releasing itself, and the village exhaled. At last, the lane softened again, not fully, not immediately, but slowly, like a tight knot loosening thread by thread. Constable Price spoke with a few villagers. Short lines, direct answers. He assured them Clive would be handled properly. No confusion now. No guessing. The false trail had been undone. Miss Marple stepped forward. Calm steps. Small smile. Gentle presence. People turned to her instinctively, as if her quiet voice carried more steadiness than the constable's badge. She began clearing names. Not loudly, not dramatically, just one soft correction at a time. "Mrs. Dodds, you did nothing wrong," she said. "You only heard what anyone would have heard." Mrs. Dodds nodded slowly. Her shoulders relaxed. She touched her scarf once. Her breathing steadied. "Lily," Miss Marple said next, "you did not mislead anyone. You were frightened. People see less clearly when frightened." Lily let out a shaky sigh. Her eyes brightened. She wiped her hands one last time. "Calmer now. Steadier." She turned to Mr. Pritchard. "You avoided the scene," she said gently. "But avoidance is not guilt. It is discomfort. And discomfort is no crime." Mr. Pritchard lowered his head, a small, grateful nod. He folded his newspaper finally. For the first time that morning, he looked at the fallen man's hat without flinching. Mrs. Barton approached quietly, hands still tight around her handbag. "Miss Marple, I thought, perhaps—" Her voice faded. Miss Marple placed a hand over hers, warm, light. "You recognize the glove," she said. "That is all. Recognition is not wrongdoing. Memory is not guilt." Mrs. Barton let out a breath she had held far too long. Her shoulders sagged, her eyes softened. "Thank you," she whispered. The villagers gathered in small clusters again. Families moved closer. Husbands, wives, children. Short embraces, hands resting on arms. A shared understanding settling in. Soft voices returned. Not chatter, not gossip, just relieved tones. Simple words. "We're safe now. Thank goodness. It makes sense after all." Someone brought out a pot of tea. Someone else fetched blankets from the shop. People passed cups around. Quiet sips. Calm warmth. The kind of warmth that comes after fear leaves. Constable Price finished his notes. He closed his book gently. No urgency left. Only procedure. He shook Miss Marple's hand. "Thank you," he said. "No flourish. Just respect. Real respect." Miss Marple nodded once. "It was a simple matter," she said. "It only needed careful eyes." The fallen man was taken inside, out of the cold, out of the lane. Villagers followed with slow steps, quiet steps, moments of silence between each footfall, a kind of reverence for what had passed. Children were sent home, shops reopened, though softly, doors half open instead of wide. Morning business resumed in gentle drafts. Nothing rushed, nothing loud. Village life breathed again, measured, balanced, mended. But Miss Marple did not move immediately. She stayed near the planter, her eyes on the cobblestones. Something still tugged. Not danger, not fear. Just a question not yet shaped, not yet answered, not yet placed in the pattern. The villagers noticed her gaze, but no one asked. Not yet. Miss Marple turned slightly, her eyes narrowed just a touch. Calm, thoughtful, waiting for the last piece to settle. But one question still lingered. Calm returned slowly, not in a sudden wave, just a soft settling, a gentle easing across the lane, the kind of calm that comes after answers finally land. Warm tea moved from hand to hand. Small cups, thin steam. People sipped quietly. Short nods exchanged. The rhythm of the village found itself again, not fully steady, but steady enough. Children laughed near the post box. Not loud, not wild, just light, safe again. A sound that loosened the last of the morning's tension. Homes settled, doors creaked open. Steps moved across wooden floors. Kettles warmed, curtains shifted. Life resumed, in small familiar ways. Mrs. Barton walked home with her head higher. Not proud, just relieved. She held her handbag with ease now. No tight grip, no fear left in the seams. Lily returned to the bakery. She wiped the counter once, only once, a normal wipe, no trembling hands. Then she arranged the fresh bread again. Straight lines, simple order. Her smile this time reached her eyes. Mr. Pritchard sat on the bench near the green, newspaper in hand. But he didn't read it yet. He just rested, a long breath leaving him. The kind that says, "It's over now." Mrs. Dodds picked up the last of the scattered pastries, placed them neatly in a box. She murmured something about, "Waste not," her voice steady again. Her scarf straightened, her nerves tucked away. Constable Price finished his rounds. He checked on each home, each shop, each villager, brief visits, short words. A small reassurance that he was still present, still watching, still keeping the peace. And through it all, Miss Marple remained in the lane, not rushing home, not seeking praise, just standing quietly, hands folded, eyes gentle, taking in the restored order. She watched a child chase a rolling marble. She watched Mrs. Barton close her gate. She watched the bakery sign swing softly in the breeze. All ordinary things, all comforting. But she was not idle. She was reflecting. Miss Marple always reflected when a mystery ended. Not on the crime, not on the culprit, but on the village. Its patterns, its people, its hidden corners, its small truths. Things heal, she murmured under her breath. But healing leaves shapes behind. Soft wisdom, quietly spoken, just for herself, not for an audience, not for applause. She walked toward the green. Short, steady steps. The ground felt calm now, safe again, balanced. A cat crossed her path. She paused, gave it a small nod. The cat blinked in return, then trotted off. Another tiny sign that the village rhythm had settled. Kettles whistled inside cottages. Windows glowed faintly. Chairs scraped gently against floors. The day felt warmer than the morning, not by temperature, by spirit. Miss Marple paused near the gate where the missing milkman would normally pass. She looked down the quiet road, thoughtful, still. Something about that empty stretch tugged at her. Order had been restored. Peace had returned. The village breathed again, but Miss Marple knew something more, something quiet, something thin, something still resting beneath the surface. She whispered it softly, almost to the wind, almost to herself. And yet, truth leaves a trace. Miss Marple walked home slowly, short path, short steps. Her thoughts moved in the same rhythm, quiet, measured, soft. The clues replayed in her mind, not sharply, just gently. The glove, the notes, the chalkboard, the button, every piece settling into its proper place. She understood the village better now. Its worries, its small fears, its hidden corners, its fragile moments. Every mystery revealed something about people, and today revealed more than most. Night settled across the rooftops, lamps lit one by one, curtains drawn, homes returning to warmth and routine. A lesson remained with her, a quiet one, a reminder that truth moves softly, and patterns speak louder than words. She paused by her gate, looked back down the lane, calm, still, and the evening held its breath. Davis returns with a warm, steady tone. He thanks the listeners softly. No rush, no flourish, just gentle gratitude for their quiet company tonight. He asks two simple questions. What clue caught you? And where are you listening from? His voice invites a small smile, a shared moment, a space for comments to gather like warm lights in a window. He encourages everyone to leave a note below, a thought, a guess, a favorite moment, anything at all. Every word welcome. Then he invites them back for tomorrow's story. A new path, a new mystery, a new quiet evening waiting to unfold. His tone softens at the close, warm, kind, settling like a blanket over the night. Tomorrow, another kettle will boil. A single calm image settles over the village. One warm light glows in a cottage window. A cup cools gently on a small wooden table. A thread lies folded beside it. Neat, quiet, unmoving. The lane outside rests in soft stillness. No footsteps, no voices. Just the steady hush of a village finding its balance again. Nothing stirs. Nothing shifts. Everything seems peaceful. Yet the air holds a faint pause, a tiny space, a whisper of something unfinished, and the village rested, almost. A soft sound settles into the quiet. A slow breath follows, the kind that closes a long day gently. A warm line drifts into the stillness, calm, simple, final. The ending comes without hurry, no echo, no weight, just a quiet promise that peace remains. The village rests, the night steadies, the world softens at the edges. Fade out, soft, easy, until the next mystery knocks.